Hello students, I am Professor Chandrika Samal from Gita Engineering College, and today I am going to teach you second law of thermodynamics, which is a most important and basic chapter in thermodynamics. So, here it is written second law of thermodynamics. This is the law of nature. This is not the extension law of any law. This is individual law. This is the law of nature. Then before going to second law of thermodynamics, we should know what is fast law and what are the limitations of fast law. Already we have discussed fast law before. So, now we should know the limitations so that we will go for the second law or what are the different reasons why second law it arises. Definitely there should be some limitations of fast law, so after that second law arises. So, what are those limitations? We know what is fast law. Fast law says energy is neither created nor destroyed, it only transfer from one form to another, clear. And again we know that according to the fast law, heat and work both are interconvertible, both are interchangeable, clear. So, that one is the fast law. Now, what are the limitations of fast law? Definitely there are some limitations, and due to that we are going to read second law of thermodynamics. Let us consider in this room I will put a hot cup of coffee, then what will happen? The temperature of the hot coffee, it is more than atmospheric temperature. Let us consider the temperature of this coffee, the hot coffee, it is around, let us consider 90 degree centigrade. So, the coffee temperature is 90 degree centigrade and this room temperature, let us consider 35 degree centigrade. So, what will happen? Due to high temperature, the coffee has high internal energy and heat will transfer from hot coffee to the surrounding. There will be heat loss from the hot coffee to the surrounding, and gradually the hot coffee it will be cooled off. The temperature of the hot coffee it will be decreased. Okay. So, that one is the first law, because heat is transforming, or you can say energy is transforming from one form to another. So, energy of hot coffee is transferred to the energy of surrounding. That one is clear. That one is the first law. Okay. Now, I will say this atmosphere has some temperature. So, obviously, it has some energy. So, why not this hot coffee, it will absorb energy from atmosphere and eventually it will be heated up. Why always the hot coffee is cooled? Why it will be not heated up by absorbing heat from the atmosphere? Because that is also the first law. First law says energy can transfer from one form to another. So, there is energy of atmosphere. So, that energy can be absorbed by the hot coffee and that can be heated up, but practically that does not happen. Why? Because that is, if any process it is obeying first law, it does not mean that it will happen. For happening of a process, it should satisfy the second law. That means first law only says heat and work are interchangeable and energy transfer from one form to another, but it does not say about the direction of energy flow. First law does not say in which direction energy will flow. That one is the second law which provides the direction for energy flow. And for that reason, we are saying second law of thermodynamics as directional law. It is also known as directional law, because it gives the direction of heat flow or energy flow. Energy can flow in a certain direction, it cannot flow in any direction. So, okay, fast law, what is fast law? That one is clear, energy transfers from one form to another, but there are some limitations. Energy transfer from one form to another in a certain direction, energy cannot transfer in any direction. For that reason, heat is flowing from hot coffee to atmosphere, not from the atmosphere to the hot coffee. So, that one is the first limitations of fast law. It does not say anything about the direction, does not say anything about the direction of energy flow. The direction of energy flow. Then second one, what is the second limitation? Fosler says heat and work are interconvertible, but heat is a low grade energy and work is a high grade energy. Completely conversion of high grade energy into low grade energy is possible, but the completely conversion of low grade energy into high grade energy, it is impossible. Whenever heat will be converted to work, definitely there will be some heat rejection, there will be some heat dissipation. Fosler does not say that. Fosler says heat and work are interconvertible, but heat is low grade energy, this one is low grade energy, and work is high grade energy. Work is high grade energy. Completely conversion of high grade to low grade, completely conversion of work to heat, it is possible, but completely conversion of heat to work, it is impossible. That means, let us consider we will provide 30 kilojoule of heat to any engine, we will provide 30 kilojoule of heat to any engine. Obviously, whenever work will be produced, that work definitely it will be less than this 30 kilojoule. Okay. Why? Because some amount of heat will be lost, there will be some dissipation, some amount of heat is lost. So, completely conversion of low grade energy into high grade energy, it is not possible, but Fosler does not say about that. Then another limitation, we know that all natural processes are irreversible process. Water always flows from high elevation to low elevation. Heat always flows from high temperature to low temperature. Human body always grows older. The reverse of that process is not possible at any cost. Naturally, the reversible of those processes naturally reversed of those natural processes are not possible. So, that is the another limitations. All natural processes are irreversible. So, due to all these limitations of Fosler, second law arises. That means, if a process is obeying Fosler, it does not mean that it will occur, it does not mean that it will happen. For happening of a process, practically for occurring of one process, that process should obey Fosler and along with it should obey second law. Now, before going to second law, we should know what is thermal heat reservoir. I think all of you are clear what are the different limitations of Fosler. Now, we are moving to second part, thermal heat reservoir. So, before describing second law of thermodynamics, we should know what is thermal heat reservoir. So, what is that? Here I am writing thermal heat reservoir. Thermal heat reservoirs, or in short we are saying this as THR. What is that? Thermal heat reservoir means it is a system with infinite heat capacity. What is the meaning of infinite heat capacity? That means if continuously heat will be absorbed from a system or continuously heat will be supplied to a system, then the temperature of that system it will remain unaltered. That one is known as the thermal heat reservoir or having infinite heat capacity. Infinite heat capacity. Infinite heat capacity. That means a system or a body having so much heat that if continuously heat will be absorbed from that or continuously heat will be supplied to that, then the temperature of that system or that body it will remain unaltered, and that one will, that is known as the thermal heat reservoir. So, definitely thermal heat reservoir it will be a hypothetical device. Obviously, that one is the hypothetical concept, but in thermodynamics and in application of thermodynamics, we are considering some reservoirs as thermal heat reservoir. Examples of thermal heat reservoir: sea, river, atmosphere, etc. If we will consider about power plant, thermal power plant. So, in case of thermal power plant, there will be one reservoir which is known as furnace, Continuously heat is supplied by furnace to the boiler. Here will be the boiler and heat will be continuously supplied to the boiler. Now, we are considering this furnace as thermal heat reservoir. So, already I have told you that it can be considered as hypothetical. If it is hypothetical, then how we are saying this real furnace as the thermal heat reservoir? That means, if continuously coal will burn, if continuously fuel will burn, then here we will get one temperature which is steady. That means, after some time the temperature is not increasing or decreasing, because continuously fuel will be supplied or coal will be burnt. So, whenever continuously burning will be there, after some time what will happen? The temperature of this furnace will remain unaltered, though continuously heat will be taken by the boiler. So, there you can say furnace as one thermal heat reservoir. So, all of you know that after boiler there will be turbine which produces work, which converts heat into work, and after that there will be condenser. So, in case of condenser what happens? Here will be the steam and here will be steam and it will condense to liquid, and by means of a pump it will be condensed to water, and by means of a pump it will be returned back again to the boiler. So, here it is the boiler, turbine, condenser, and this one is the pump. So, this is thermal power plant. So, here you are using another thermal reservoir. Which one? We are saying that is cooling tower. Cooling tower or cooling water. So, cooling water it continuously absorbs heat from the steam, so that steam will be converted to water. Steam will be converted to saturated water. So, here this one, this cooling tower, this is another thermal heat reservoir. So, all these are natural thermal reservoirs, sea, river, atmosphere, all those things, and these two, furnace and cooling tower, that one is made by us, and that these two are also considered as thermal heat reservoir, because it has infinite heat capacity. Then thermal reservoirs are two types: source and sink. One is source and another one is the sink. Source is that one which continuously produces or continuously supplies heat. Source is that one which continuously supplies it, and sink is that one which continuously absorbs it. Okay. So, actually there is some concept that students are thinking source means having high temperature, sink means having low temperature body, but that is not the case. The body which continuously supplying heat, that one is known as the source, and the body which continuously absorbing heat, that one will be known as the sink. So, in case of thermal power plant, furnace is the source and cooling tower is the sink. But if it is refrigerator, then low temperature body is the source and atmosphere which is at high temperature, that one is the sink. So, never say that the body having high temperature is source, it is not like that. The body which continuously supplies it, that one is the source, and the body which continuously absorbs it, that one is known as the sink. So, that is all about thermal heat reservoir. Now, we can move to the next portion. So, next portion will be how we will define heat engine. Before going to the statements of second law, I would like to define what do you mean by heat engine. Heat engine is a cyclic device which continuously absorbs heat from the source, converts some amount of heat into useful work, and rest heat is rejected to the sink. Here the term is written heat engine. So, engine means obviously which produces power, and heat means by means of heat power is produced. So, heat engine means a cyclic device which produces power, mechanical power or electrical power from heat. Again, if we will clearly describe this, what do you mean by heat engine? So, now I can say heat engine is a cyclic device because it operates in a cycle. Heat engine is a cyclic device which continuously absorbs it from a source. Body, here it is the source which continuously absorbs it from a source. Here it is at high temperature, the source is at high temperature. So, continuously heat will be absorbed by the device, and from that heat, let us consider Q1 amount of heat is absorbed by the heat engine. From that, some amount of heat is converted to work and rest amount of heat is rejected to the sink. Now, this one is the block diagram of heat engine. Heat engine is a cyclic device. So, as the name is cyclic, here we have to give the direction. Remember, the direction here is clockwise. So, heat engine is a device which operates in a cycle, continuously absorbs heat from a body which is at high temperature. From that heat, some amount of work is produced and rest heat is rejected to the sink. So, we can consider this is thermal power plant, we can consider the bike engines, any engine it will be based on this principle. So, this one is the heat engine. So, whenever we will discuss about heat engine, we should know another term which is known as efficiency. So, here if we will consider this heat engine as thermal power plant, so here will be the boiler, here will be the turbine, here will be the condenser and here will be the pump. Boiler, turbine, condenser, pump, and working fluid is steam which is circulating in a cyclic manner. Working fluid, that one is the steam. So, this is the steam power plant or thermal power plant. Source at high temperature. Which one is the source? Furnace is the source. Then sink at low temperature. So, we can consider atmosphere, we can consider cooling water, anything as the sink. So, let us consider it is atmosphere. So, now heat is absorbed from the furnace, turbine. So, what will happen in boiler? Water will be there. So, water will be converted to superheated steam by absorbing heat from the furnace. Then after it will pass to the turbine where expansion of steam will occur. So, work will be produced, mechanical work will be produced and the steam is expanded, that means superheated steam will be converted to saturated steam or steam at low pressure, because whenever there will be expansion in turbine, here it is high pressure steam, superheated steam at high pressure and here will be the saturated steam at low pressure. Then the drop of enthalpy will be converted to work. So, turbine produces work. Then after the steam it goes to the condenser at low pressure and heat rejection will occur. So, heat will be taken by the atmosphere or it will be taken by the cooling water. So, now we are saying this one is the sink. Again inside the pump, what will happen? Pump is a work consuming device, turbine is a work producing device. So, in case of pump, now rejecting in condenser steam, it has been rejected heat. So, here it will be water, simple water, water at low pressure. So, that one will be pumped and it will be pumped to high pressure and at high pressure it will be supplied to the boiler and the process will continue again and again. So, this is just one example, we will read all these things again later. So, that means now it is the pump work consuming device and it is the turbine which is work producing device. So, for this cycle W net will be W turbine minus W pump. That means Q1 amount of heat is absorbed, from that W net amount of work has been produced and Q2 amount of heat is rejected. So, now I can say Q1 equal to W net plus Q2. So, that means now I say Q1 minus Q2, Q net equal to W net, that already you have read in first law. For a cycle, cyclic integration of heat is equal to cyclic integration of work. So, now Q1 amount of heat is provided, it has been supplied to the boiler, but all the heat is not converted to work, some amount of heat is rejected to the sink and Q1 minus Q2, that amount W net amount work has been produced. So, whenever we will describe efficiency, efficiency term is described for the performance of work producing devices. Heat engine is a work producing device. So, now I can say efficiency of this heat engine, that one will be equal to, it is the ratio of net work output to heat input. So, here W net, it is the net work output divided by heat input is the Q1. So, I can write down this one also, Q1 minus Q2, because we know that W net equal to Q net. So, Q1 minus Q2 divided by Q1. So, 1 minus Q2 by Q1. So, this one is the efficiency of heat engine. So, whenever we will discuss any work producing device, there will be tempted to calculate efficiency and this one will be the performance of that heat engine. So, now we have calculated this one as 1 minus Q2 by Q1. So, now we will go to continue करिए. Now, we will go to the statements. So, statements, there will be two statements of second law. One is Kelvin-Planck statement and second one will be the Clausius statement. So, as I have described heat engine, now we can go for the Kelvin-Planck statement. So, that I am writing now. Second law has two statements. Two statements of second law. First one will be Kelvin-Planck statement according to the name of the scientist, Kelvin-Planck statement, and second one will be Clausius statement. Kelvin-Planck statement and Clausius statement. A heat engine is based on Kelvin-Planck statement. Remember this, only a heat engine is based on Kelvin-Planck statement. So, what does Kelvin-Planck statement say? It says it is impossible to construct a heat engine which operates in a cycle and produces no other effect than converting all the heat into work in a single thermal reservoir. Again I am repeating, Kelvin-Planck statement states that it is impossible to construct an engine which operates in a cycle and produces no effect other than transforming all heat into work in a single thermal reservoir. What is the meaning of this? First one, it will be a cyclic device. Well, so it is impossible to construct this one. When it is impossible to construct an engine which operates in a cycle and produces no effect other than transforming all the heat into work. So, that means let us consider this one is the source. So, this one is the source, a thermal reservoir at high temperature, from that heat is absorbed, and this engine what it will do? It will convert all the heat into work. It will operate in a single thermal reservoir. This one is impossible. That means already we have discussed this. That means all the heat cannot be converted to mechanical work. All the heat cannot converted to work. Work is high grade energy, heat is low grade energy. Definitely there will be some dissipation. Definitely there will be another reservoir which will be called as sink, and heat will be taken by that reservoir. Some amount of heat will be taken by that reservoir. This one is impossible. That means we can say nothing is 100%. So, second term will come 100% is impossible. How idealized may be the process, nothing can be converted, that means all the heat cannot be converted to work, nothing can produce 100% efficiency, 100% is impossible. So, that means if it could be like this, if any device could be like this which continuously absorb heat, which will continuously absorb heat from the source and could convert all the heat into work. If it could be, then that device will be known as PMM2, perpetual motion machine kind 2. So, perpetual motion machine kind 2 is a hypothetical device. The efficiency of that is 100%. For that reason, it is hypothetical. At any cost, practically, this one is impossible. This is the violation of second law of thermodynamics. PMM2 is the violation of Kelvin-Planck statement of second law. So, what is PMM2? PMM2 is a hypothetical device which converts all the heat into work and which works in a single thermal reservoir. And practically this one is impossible, this is hypothetical. If it could be, then it will violate Kelvin-Planck statement of second law, and we know that second law is the law of nature, by any means it cannot be violated. These are not the hypotheses, these are the laws. Laws means law of nature which is always truth, by any means that cannot be violated. So, this is all about heat engine and PMM2. Now, another two terms will be there, refrigerator and heat pump. So, this is all about heat engine, then PMM2, and heat engine is based on Kelvin-Planck statement of second law. So, efficiency will be always in terms of W net by heat input. Efficiency is the ratio of net work output divided by heat input, and efficiency of any heat engine, it will be always less than 100%, it will never 100%. Only a PMM2 which is hypothetical, the efficiency of that one is 100%, and again that is the violation of Kelvin-Planck statement and second law, that one is the hypothetical.